Hi, and welcome to Conversations to Connect. I'm Fenella Hawksley, and this podcast is brought to you in collaboration with the Campaign to End Loneliness. Social isolation and loneliness are widespread and can have a huge impact on health, happiness, and overall well-being. All people of all ages need connections that matter, and on this podcast we will be hosting conversations to share insights, knowledge, and research to inspire change and to help people feel more connected. On today's episode, I'm joined by Tony Sup, an award-winning radio presenter, CEO of Grounded Sounds, a charity which aims at empowering youth through music, as well as the founder of Soul Surge, a music and wellbeing platform. With extensive knowledge and personal experience of the criminal justice system, Tony also mentors and supports young people into careers in music. Welcome to Conversations to Connect, and thank you so much for joining us. First of all, how do you fit everything in?
Who says I do? No, I'm joking. I'm still looking for balance, if I'm honest. I kind of have had the mentality or grown up with the mentality of just having to get things done. So I think that just keeps me going. But yeah, still looking for balance, to be honest. Yeah.
So in everything you do, there's a real focus on building community, especially through well-being and through music. Why is that so important to you?
I think because I was lucky to kind of grow up with community around me. So despite like whatever decisions I might have made or what experiences I might have had, there was always people around me supporting. And I feel like I had a really good network that helped me to get into the places that I am now and the position that I'm in now. So I think it's important for other people to experience that. I think the art of community or the concept of community is slowly getting lost. I think like social media and just capitalism and individualism has like started to slowly erode our idea of like community. So I think that for me it's important to keep trying to embed that in society or wherever I go, kind of like bring that essence of community and yeah, make people feel that.
So true. And as well, erosion of religion. All the things that maybe brought people together are slowly fading away and everyone's feeling lonelier.
yeah, basically.
So before working as a DJ and a radio host and a CEO of a charity, you spent some time in prison. So I wanted to talk to you about that experience and how that has shaped what you do today. Yeah. What was the experience of prison like?
I think it was interesting. I'll say that. I think it was a space for me to like actually zone into myself and figure out who I am, what were the decisions that led me there, what would I need to do differently to get out and stay out. I think it's interesting because obviously 10 years on, I'm now able to sort of reflect on it in a different way now that I've kind of done the work and got to the position that I'm in now. But I think at the time, there's loads of different things that are going on. So like being away from your family and friends and you're kind of missing them, but also developing new friendships within the prison on your wing, knowing that there's certain people you can talk to about certain things or your cellmate and sort of developing those relationships. And then, so you're missing home, but you're kind of finding yourself and finding your social network within the space that you're in. But then sort of like the fears around like navigating life on the inside, but then also what you might come out to.
Was it a lonely, because I mean, you're taken away from all your family, all your friends, placed in potentially a cell on your own. The idea of that, it sounds so lonely and isolating. Like, was it that kind of experience for you?
It is. It's a weird one because it's kind of like how do you define lonely, or like everyone has their own perception of it or experience of it. But I think, yeah, in the grand scheme of things, it is a lonely time. You know, it is time by yourself. Even though for the most part you are sharing a cell, you've got a bunk bed, someone above you or below you, but it can still feel quite isolating if you're not connecting with that person, kind of not, just kind of in your own space. So I found myself sort of in my own space. I was sharing a cell with a friend, luckily, but there were times where I would just get lost in a book, or, you know, you go on a visit and then you come back from the visit, and even though you've seen someone that you love, you're reminded that you're not with them, so you have to watch them walk away, and that can be really lonely and kind of like remind you of where you are. Yeah, I think it's a tricky time. It's a tricky time. I can think back to like moments where you're just reminded that you are kind of on your own in this situation, and that might be like times where you will call someone and they just don't pick up, and for you it's kind of like, well, that's it, that's your one call, or that's the time that you have, and then you have to move on, and you're kind of thinking about just what's going on at home. So that's quite difficult. But yeah, it's a weird time or weird experience, because I think for me personally, I think I probably experienced a bit more loneliness when I was released.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you about that, because I think some people, especially if they've spent a long time in prison, find it incredibly hard leaving. It's actually the experience of leaving which they find like the most isolating.
Yeah,
I wanted to ask you about that.
I guess like for me, the time period of my life that it happened, I was in uni. So when I came back, my friends had graduated. I went back to uni by myself. People are working. I wasn't working. So it was kind of like everyone has moved on. Everyone is just doing what they're doing with their lives. They're living their lives. And I found myself in a position where, yeah, it did feel quite lonely, because I wasn't working, so I wasn't earning money to like go out and do the things they were doing, or go to dinners and parties and stuff. And then when I went back to uni, the whole landscape had changed. So my friends who I was in uni with were no longer there. And then the people I was around were like the younger year groups who I didn't really have that much connection to. So that was like, it was lonely, but then the way I kind of worked, it was like, well, I'm here to study, I'm here to kind of focus. So that was good for me. But yeah, I think it can be quite hard. And having worked in prison since being released, like I've worked at the radio station there. And
did you work at National Prison Radio?
National Prison Radio, yeah. And like working with the guys there, and I guess interacting with them and kind of sharing those experiences, for me, I was able to see that some people are having a much harder time than I had, and like experiencing more loneliness because they don't actually have families on the outside, or they don't have a fixed abode, so they're just like here, there, everywhere. So wherever they are in prison, they're kind of just alone. So yeah, there's other situations where I'm like, it could be worse, you know.
Did you listen to National Prison Radio while you were in prison? And did that help you?
I didn't, you know.
Oh yeah.
Funnily enough, I don't think I did. Or I didn't. I might have, but I didn't know it was this thing as it is today.
How did you start working with them?
This was not too long ago actually. So this is like years after me doing Soul Surge and being on radio. I saw the opportunity come up and I just went for it. I was like, this would be really cool to go back into the prison I served time in.
Wow.
And give back and like support people that are experiencing the same thing, but also like I guess develop my knowledge of like radio production and presenting as well in a more formal way than I had been before. I was just freestyling before, and now it was like I was going to get the training. So yeah, I went for the job, I got it, and yeah, I spent 2 years there, and it was amazing. It was a really good time, but when lockdown came, it kind of got a bit tricky because we couldn't go into the prison anymore. So we had to like do the shows from home. Yeah. And I guess that changed my experience of the role, because of my role, I really was there to work with people in prison, type of thing. So
was it strange going back?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of like confronting fears.
Yeah. Do you know what? It's funny because like I thought I had done whatever healing I needed to do. When I went back in, I realized I had so much more work to do, like, because it was just so weird. Like when I went to the wing to like speak with someone who we were going to recruit, I would go on the wing and I'm like walking, and I'm like, that was my cell. Oh. Do you get like that was my cell? Or yeah, just kind of like when I got keys to like walk through any door I wanted to walk through, I'm like, no, I've actually got keys. Like, do you know what I mean? This is mad. Like, and yeah, just kind of being confronted with that like parallel realities. I was talking about this the other day, that like some things happen and we make certain decisions and then our life goes along one trajectory, but if things went another way, we'd be living a completely different reality. So I think about like my situation and my conviction and what could have happened, and it would have been completely different. It would have been me still being there. So I think yeah, it was crazy, and I think I kind of think I was re-traumatizing myself a little bit.
Yeah, so it's like PTSD
Just a little
going
bit.
back on the battlefield.
Just
like,
a little bit. Just
oh
a
my
little
God.
bit. Just a little bit, and like, yeah, just it was weird. It was weird, and sort of like making sure, you know, having similar experiences with the guys that I'm working with, but knowing that they're going back to a cell and I'm leaving, and the kind of feelings that brings up, and still making sure that you have your professional line and not kind of blur those lines, even though you completely understand where they're coming from and what's going on. So yeah, I think it was a very tricky time for me. And when lockdown came, and then I spent pretty much almost like a year working at home.
So no one could go into the business during lockdown?
No, because there was a lot of sort of officers were going sick, so they just had complete lockdown for prisoners, which was really hard as well, because knowing that they were there 24/7, maybe like an hour out of the cell to shower, but not much more than that. No phone calls for months, no visits. So it was really like quite tricky. And I remember kind of when lockdown lifted and all of this kind of stuff, they wanted to get us back in. And I remember just being like, no, I don't want to go. Like I actually don't want to go back in. And also it's partially because when you work in a prison, like you can't have your phone, like you can't just check your emails. You're there for the hours that you're there, and you can just feel so shut off from the world, which in itself is quite isolating, you know. So you kind of spend the whole day off social media, off news, like you don't really see anything, and then you come out and then you're hit with everything that's happened during the day. You're hit with like however many messages that come through the phone, notifications. So yeah, it's very, and that actually is quite reminiscent of like coming home from prison and sort of like turning on your phone for the first time in months, and then getting all these messages. So it kind of was very parallel. So I think for me it was that, no, I still need to do some work on this.
And also that is quite brave. But it's inspiring for other people that they can see that you've experienced what they're experiencing, and that they can, like, I think that's really, really inspiring.
Thank you. I mean,
and brave.
Yeah, I think I really wanted to, like, I think it was like a full circle moment for me. Like I've done it, but yeah.
I know that you mentioned on After Prison podcast that one of your friends passed away before the conviction. Do you think that kind of struggling with grief at such a young age sort of led to difficulties at university?
100%.
Yeah.
I think not knowing how to grieve, not knowing how to talk about grief at the time as well. I think you deal with it in different ways. And so I think, had I have had more knowledge on the language that I could use, or kind of expressing my feelings, or I guess if it was more normal for men to talk about like how you feel, I think things could have been different. Yeah, I think that was a huge contributing factor.
Yeah, I think that people need to be able to speak about what they're going through, and especially at university, that's also a really isolating time. True. You're kind of on your own again, so going through something like that and not having the people to talk to, and not having the spaces where you can talk to people about things. Like with groups of girls, they're quite good at like asking how their friends are, and I always found it funny whenever I hung out with my university guy friends, like you could spend 2 hours chatting and I actually don't know anything that's going on in their life. Like it's really fun. But whereas with my girlfriends, it's like I don't know, it's crazy.
I think things are shifting now though. I think the culture of like men staying silent has not served us well. And so I think people are challenging it. And I think there's more people that are going to therapy and speaking more openly about it. And I think things are changing a bit.
Yeah, and people being open about doing those things as well inspires other people. Yeah, so I was wondering if listening to the radio in prison inspired you to be a radio presenter, but it wasn't. It did?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
So funnily enough, it did indirectly. So basically, what happened was, like, I used to listen to radio every day. Like every single day, I'd listen to the radio, different stations. I think Choice FM was still around them times. I think so. But yeah, that was the main station of Choice FM. And then Westside, just loads of different stations that I'd listen to. And I listened to different presenters, and I'd be like, oh, this presenter's really cool. You get to know them, right? and I'm literally listening to them every day. So it's like we're in a like one-way conversation, but I feel connected, and so that was like always there. I was always listening to radio. I listened to radio from I was a young boy anyway, and like was always inspired by like Trevor Nelson and what he was doing within the like R&B space specifically, and Jenny Francis with like her late night show. So those were like people that I always looked up to anyway, and I used to record like radio shows on my little tape cassette. Yeah, I used to record them literally and just like listen. So that was way back when I was in school. So when I was in prison and kind of listening to radio, that was like a thing. But then the reason that I actually started to create radio was I was listening to, well, there used to be a thing where you could do like CD swaps, or like people who were in prison would just kind of like, oh, what CDs have you got in your cell? Oh yeah, I like that one. Do you want to swap? So we do CD swaps, and I remember.
But that was a long time ago.
Yeah. No, I mean they still do CDs today.
Really?
Yeah.
Because you can't have a phone.
Yeah, no, you can't have a phone. Yeah. So it's still like, but you can have a stereo.
Okay.
So you can exchange CDs, and then you just play CD, or listen to the radio, or watch the TV, but no phones. So yeah, CD swaps, and I can't remember how it ended up in my cell, but we got Erykah Baduism. And I had listened to Jill Scott, I listened to all of them before, but I had never listened to it in the way that I listened to it in that cell. And we listened to that CD like every night for like months, right? Wow. And it was like, so I was listening on so many different levels. So I was listening to like the instrumentation, but then it was the lyrics as well that was like taking me on a journey, and the feeling, and there were so many elements to it that I was really beginning to delve into and like fall in love with. So I remember kind of just feeling what the effects that kind of music had on me, and like the impact positively and my well-being and stuff. And so I had already started to create an idea of what I wanted to do when I came back, and it was to do with like well-being and like self-expression, because I used to write poetry. So it was more to do with like that kind of thing. And so when I came back, I was just on the hunt for that type of music, and so that's when I started to focus on like UK music and artists making that type of sound. And when I found more of it, I eventually was just like, I really want to share this with people. Don't know how, but I'm gonna find out. Me and a friend of mine put our heads together and just created an idea for a show. It wasn't Soul Surge as it is today, it was something else. Created a show, pitched it to different stations, got taken up by Pulse 88, which was in Northwest London, developed the show there. Then eventually I wanted to move it into something more soulful, more like R&B, which is when Soul Surge was birthed. And
when was that?
That was 2017.
Oh wow.
That was 2017. Yeah, that was 2017.
So it started as a radio show of soul, of UK soul music.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then it started to expand to like overseas, and then it just started to grow from there. And then from there, it was like, okay, we're discovering some really cool artists that I don't think everyone knows. So let's put on an event and let's like showcase these artists. So we started to book artists who would come and perform and sell tickets, and that's how the event started. So yeah.
And when did, because I love the soul music and painting sessions that you were doing at Prince of Peckham. I got all my friends to go. I was like, this is just the most like, it's like a Sunday activity that just leaves you feeling like relaxed, nourished, creative, like so many things. Okay, yeah.
Definitely.
When did you come up with that idea?
I think our first one of those was in 2018. I can't even remember how it came about.
I can't even remember where I saw it, but I was just like, oh my god, painting and soul music.
Yeah, I don't know.
Is just...
I think it literally was just, so most of our events just came about from like, okay, I don't really rave. What would I like to do? And that was kind of how it came about. Someone else who was on the team at the time, that would have been us just collaborating on ideas and just kind of being like, well, painting is something that don't usually do, but it's cool. And I think people would be up for it. So yeah, that's how our events kind of happen. I just kind of like make stuff up.
And do you feel like you're building a community of people with these? Yeah.
I think so. I think I have more of a responsibility to be consistent and like actually provide more space and more ideas and more activities for people to enjoy. I definitely think there's a community building. Our SoundCloud page with our shows that we upload our shows, that is continuously growing, and there's not a day that goes by where like someone isn't listening to a show or something on our SoundCloud, which is crazy. Like to have X amount of plays per day or per week or per month. So yeah, we're definitely building a community, and it's actually worldwide. So yeah, the next step is like trying to take some of these events to other spaces, or just connecting with different people in different places as well.
And are you also kind of building a fan base for the different artists that you're showcasing?
I would say so. I would say so, especially like when we really get behind an artist. When I love a song, like you'll hear the song on the radio for like 4 weeks straight. But yeah, I think so, because there are like some of our events when people come, it's the first time they've even seen an artist perform and haven't even heard their music. They're just like, they're gonna come and then they enjoy it and then they go and listen. So I think slowly but surely we're helping to contribute to artists' fan base.
So did Soul Surge come before you started working with Grounded Sounds?
Yeah, so Soul Surge started 2017 is when we like launched, and then I started to work with Grounded Sounds towards the end of 2021.
Okay.
So coming out of lockdown, had applied for the job, and then just kind of started at the end of the 2021.
How did you first of all find out about the charity, and could you explain a bit about what Grounded Sound is and what you guys do?
So I came across the charity because my girlfriend sent me the application form.
Mm-hmm.
She was
wow.
Like, I've seen this role. I really think that it embodies everything that you're about. I think you could do it. And so I went for it with a bit of convincing. I went for it and then I got it. But Grounded Sounds in its current form, so we've gone through a bit of a journey, and like I've done a bit of rebranding and sort of changing some of our programs and like the approach that we have. But essentially it's a music education charity. So our goal is to basically bridge the gap between the music industry and young people. So people who either want to be musicians or who want to be in behind the scenes roles within the music industry. So we run different programs. We run a schools program, which is more focused on like songwriting, production and performance. And then we run a artist and professional development program. So previously it was a 7-week program. Now we've extended it to about between 10 and 12 weeks. Wow. So that program looks at the artist side, so like performance, songwriting, production, collaboration, like artist etiquette, all these different things that it takes to be an artist, stage presence, and then we also look at the professional side of things. So we'll get people to come in from the music industry and talk about their roles, kind of share some insights, and also help young people to develop themselves professionally. So CV writing, internships, work experience, mentoring. So yeah, those are kind of like, we do loads of different programs around those 2 programs that I've just mentioned, but those are like the core.
What age group do you work with?
We go from 11 to 25. So the school program is like 11 to 15/16. We're developing a program currently for 15 to 17 year olds. And then we've got 2 programs which are 18 to 25.
What impact can you see that having on young people?
So I think there's loads of different impacts, but I think the ones I'm most interested in personally are more around like the aspirational side of things. So like for us, we are working with young people who don't necessarily have the networks or the resources to kind of like just go into the music industry or like benefit from nepotism or networks and kind of like, here's a job, go on. So we're working with that group, and I think some of the programs, especially the artist development and professional development program, people come in sort of like, I want to be the next like big star on stage, and they come out of the program actually understanding that you can do music, but you can also have a really cool job in music, and you make money by supporting other musicians or being a HR manager if that's what you want to do, or A&R, or a touring agent, or all of these different things that you can do. And so I think it's kind of the confidence, or increasing young people's confidence in themselves and like their ability to actually really just find options and go for it, and not feel like they have to go for the traditional roles, which might be like doctor, lawyer, but actually they can earn a really good living and have a high quality of life and enjoy their job. that's kind of...
This is the thing. Like, everyone is told way too
Yeah,
young
yeah.
by people who are scared and didn't follow
Yeah.
their own dreams that like, oh, you can't do something creative that is crazy.
Yeah.
Do something that doesn't make you happy instead.
Yeah.
But it's like the music industry has a lot of money in it.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's a lot of different roles in it. But it's true, I think sometimes it's quite far removed from what people know.
We've had like musicians give us tickets to their shows.
Wow.
So we've been able to take young people to actually see like a performance, high quality performances. Yeah, it's been really cool. It's getting better now because I'm not afraid of certain conversations. So like saying to people, you know, we need money, or we need, you know, we want this opportunity, or this is, you don't have enough black staff. We have young people who we could fill those roles. So yeah, kind of just like being very, I think my role is to advocate for young people who don't have the confidence or the voice to advocate for themselves. And I think that's what I love about what I do, because I can, push boundaries, or take things further than like people think they can, and sort of like having the audacity to do that. I think that is like a strength of mine.
That's a very large age group as well to work with. 11 to 25. It really is like...
I mean, I personally, if you know, I think funding sort of like determines the ages sometimes. Well, we still work with young people beyond that age. So like once they're alumni and they finish working with us, they can come back and actually train with us to deliver programs as well. So
wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, so for example, one of our the school program manager went through one of our programs.
Oh my God.
And she then started to freelance and work in the schools. And then from working in the schools, she now runs the school program. And so that's the story that I want for people. I want people to like experience support from us all the way through, because I know that like Soul Church wasn't formed before I was 25. Like it wasn't even a thing. So I know that after the age of 25, sometimes the vision becomes clearer. Sometimes people are more ready to like take on that work or go into that role. So I think as much as the age limit stops there officially, we have our alumni, we still work with them, develop them, train them where we can, and put them into opportunities as well.
And is it with people in South London?
It's mainly, focused on South London. We are based in Lambeth, Brixton specifically, but yeah, we're open.
I saw the video online about Grounded Sounds, and one of the teachers was saying that it inspired lots of the students to then do music GCSE.
Yeah.
So that's so cool.
It's amazing, because I think it's so mad. Like when I go to a lot of shows, and like I'll see performers doing their thing, and especially like instrumentalists, and I'm just like, where was I when these lessons were being given? Because I can't play any instruments, and I'm always like, that's the opportunity that we want to give to young people now at a young age, to be in these workshops, to feel confident enough to take a music GCSE, because you think that's going to contribute to like your career choices. You know, music GCSE was not even an option when I was in school. I didn't even know that was a thing. There were no creative GCSEs that I took.
Really?
No. Language, and maybe French is like the most, it's not even creative. It's just another language. But I didn't do art GCSE, even though I loved art. Music, I didn't even take it as an option after year 9, and I wish I did, because we had a music department. I just didn't know how it would contribute to my life. So I think
that's the thing, though. You're showing people that, one, it makes it really cool.
Yeah.
And I think you're in that age at like 14, 15, aren't you? When it's kind of like, you kind of just want to do what all your friends want to do.
Yeah.
But if they've seen that there's actually a way for them to follow a path in the music industry, that is just, that's such a great time to find that out. Not at like 20 when you're like, oh wait,
I can. Yeah, exactly. It's hard, and I think it's bringing the reality to it as well. It's like letting them know that, like, you know, some of the artists or the stars that we have now, they didn't just wake up and make one song and then blow up. Like, this is a journey. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, and there's more really talented non-famous musicians than there are really talented famous stars. So it's like really understanding like the essence of music beyond the stage, beyond the famous element to it, but actually like, what does it do for your mental health? What does it do for your well-being and that of the people around you as well? What does it do for your confidence? Like, those are the things that we're interested in developing with young people.
I can't remember the statistic, but it was something like music is the quickest way to change your mood.
Absolutely. Like I truly believe in that, and there is a time where like I kind of really delved into like, I think it was more during lockdown, delved into like associating music with colours and sense and like emotions. For sometimes I know, okay, if I want to stay angry or in this emotion,
I can listen to
I've got to listen to this, right? But if I want to change my mood, I'll listen to this.
So true. Or when you want to wallow and you're just like, I'm just going to listen to loads of sad songs and keep myself down here.
Exactly. So some of like what I do with Soul Surge, we curate playlists that are specific to the mood that we want to induce in people. Or when we have events, we're very specific about the DJs we book or the music that we play, because we want to induce a particular type of mood. So yeah, I think it's important to kind of like use music as a tool for healing and freedom and joy, and also like sorrow and sort of like all the emotions.
Someone said it's like a song, you're selling emotions, because it's like that's how you connect with the song. Yeah. But it reminds 100%. You of your own. Everybody will experience it differently because it kind of takes you into your own. It's like when everyone listens to a breakup song, everyone's gonna think about their own breakup. Yeah. I cried at this is actually really embarrassing, but you know Brockwell Park, Mighty Hoopla.
Yeah.
It's like Atomic Kitten. Yeah. I'd just gone through a breakup. It was Atomic Kitten.
What song was that?
Oh my god.
Atomic Kitten. What song would it have been?
What's the song that's like, when I see you? I cried at that.
Oh no.
I had to leave the stage.
Really?
Yeah. That was just the beginning verse. It just, for some reason, I was like, wow. This
Oh man, at a festival. I'm sorry. But that's the power of music, though.
That is the power of music.
Yeah.
Also, sometimes I feel when you're like, after a time when you're maybe a bit more emotionally sensitive, like music, you can feel it even more. Yeah,
definitely. And I think that's kind of like, so in some of our sessions with the older group, there will be times where we're like, okay, why this lyric? Or what is this? What are you trying to say to us? Like, so there are times where like we'll get them to perform, and they'll perform once, and then we'll be like, okay, so what does this song actually mean? Like the cover that you're doing, why did you choose it? What does it mean to you? And we have this long conversation, and then when they perform again, there's a huge difference because they're connected. So yeah, I think music's just beautiful.
And it's like a type of therapy, like songwriting.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Poetry, songwriting, you're kind of just like releasing things.
Yeah.
So what impact do you see those projects having on younger people?
Do you know what? I think specifically like the music industry focused ones where it's about professional development. I think it really is about young people feeling seen and feeling like there are people like them in these roles and there's a space for them as well. By putting them right in front of them and just being like, these are all the roles that are available to you. This is how you can get to them. I think it creates access in a space that is quite inaccessible. Music is a hard place to get into. And I think it just builds confidence, allows people to connect with other musicians and artists, and just create a like-minded network. Again, like when we go back to the topic of loneliness, actually just feel connected, especially after a lockdown, and especially after a lot of the young people we work with are displaying like anxiety and depression and social isolation. So it's like really trying to support them with that as well. So
yeah, I think that the lockdown has been particularly hard on young people. Like a study just came out on Campaign to End Loneliness saying that young people are more chronically lonely than people over the age of 70. Wow. Which isn't what people presume, and especially after the pandemic, rates are higher. And like you said, like kids that haven't been in school for 2 years, struggling to go back, it's like that causes a lot of anxiety. So having a place where people can connect over a shared passion and have a type of therapy like wellbeing, that is really, really important. So are you seeing that the young people are, in what way?
So some will start not wanting to perform in front of people and then end with a full-blown show. We put on a showcase, and people will come out and buy tickets and support.
Yeah.
And there'll be a room full of people, and they'll perform with a live band.
Oh my God.
And they've never done that before.
That's
So there's like there's the actual like element of like confidence that we're seeing. But yeah, also like the group chats that they have, that they create. We create a group chat for each of our programs, the 18 plus programs, where we send like information and opportunities and all of that. And so seeing them connect and seeing them just talk off their own back, or like link up and go to events and go to like support each other and support each other when each other are performing, that kind of thing. It's nice to see them creating their own networks and communities. I've seen young people go from like wanting to be a rapper to then becoming a DJ and running their own radio show.
Wow.
and having their own events, and I'm like, it makes me smile so much. And knowing that, and I think one of the biggest things for me that I see the impact of what we do is that they know they can ask us questions. Like any of our staff, they can reach out to us and be like, this is what I'm working on. I've got a release coming. I need some advice. And we will sit down with them. And so it's like, there's so many different things that we're contributing to. But I think it is really important for younger people to feel like there are older people who've been through it, who know what they're doing, but they can reach them. Because that's a lot of time you just don't think you can reach, you know, when you're 18, 19, 20, you don't really always know outside of your family who you can connect with, who's like 30 plus and is really going to help you.
And your family may have other ideas for their ideal career path for you. And
exactly.
if you have people who can tell you, no, you don't have to do what your dad tells you to do.
This is exactly. There's another way, you know. So I think being there for people is a huge impact, I think.
I mean, we've spoken a bit about this, but what do you think is important about building a community, and how do you think art and music bring people together? Because I guess that's really what you're doing in everything you do. That is really what underpins it all.
Well, I don't think we're meant to be alone.
Yeah.
As beings, I just don't think that we are here to be isolated and live life alone. So I've always thought that, and I've always kind of moved with that. I think there's loads of different benefits to building communities, and it depends on like which angle we want to look at it in. But I guess for me, building and cultivating communities is about, I want to say it's not survival, right? But I think we help each other to stay alive.
No, definitely. You know, like we're tribal.
Yeah.
Like it's only very recently that we are living these like isolated lives, away from nature, away from like our tribes, our family, a community of people. We used to live in big groups.
Yeah, I agree.
And that, like what you said, it's actually more damaging for your health to be alone than to smoke, be overweight. Like there's so many other health impacts, drink alcohol. It's being lonely is like equivalent to, this isn't completely scientific, but smoking about 15 cigarettes a day.
Really?
So and if you're ill, your chance of recovery is higher if you have people around you. So that's completely true.
Yeah, I think there's so many benefits to community. I think I'll say it for example, like from a soul search perspective, sharing resources. So for us, we know that particular types of music on particular frequencies and sounds benefit your well-being and your mental health, right? And they actively can induce dopamine, which is like a happy hormone, basically. And so like certain songs, certain instruments, or certain frequencies will induce that feeling, right? And so we know that, and we're doing more research and more study to actually kind of like identify exactly what does that. But because we know that, and there's certain songs that we are sure that does that, we can share that and say, hey guys, this is a song that's going to make you feel this particular way, or this song will make you feel green, which like is creative and refreshing and all of these different things, right? And we can share that with our community, and hopefully people begin to feel better. Or when we share our radio show, 3 hours of music, it's like within that 3 hours, people are going for walks, going for runs, cleaning the house, going to gym, or lying in bed. But they are sharing or partaking collectively in a process that helps you feel better. So I think, yeah, community is important. I think even just from like a resource knowledge of sharing information and experiences and emotions and all that kind of stuff. I think, yeah, emotionally, community is important, you know, for like, I guess, yeah, it's hard to explain, but I just think we just need each other. And I think we shouldn't be afraid to like lean into that and be honest about that and say, I need people, I need support, you know.
And in terms of art and music bringing people together,
Yes, yeah.
Why do you think they do?
Because, yeah, I think art and music, like some religions, can be quite spiritual experiences. And I think when multiple people experience a similar thing, there's a common ground that is created there. So I think as a vehicle, music specifically, well, music and art, because we're more music focused, music just is a vehicle for like bringing people together. So like our hangout events where we do the sip and paint, the painting and the music, it's just a way to bring people together. You know, people are sharing paints, sharing brushes, sitting on tables with strangers, people they don't know, and having conversations. And if you take away the art and the music, the core of it is people are having conversations and interacting with strangers. And I think, yeah, music and art serves as like a really safe space for people to do that.
And like what you said about collective experiences, listening to live music with
Yeah.
other people, you're all sharing that moment
that
together.
Emotion. Yeah.
And that emotion.
Yeah, and the moment as well. I think all of that contributes to how you walk away feeling that day. You know, you go to an event or a concert and you all leave feeling like you're either buzzing or you're like, that was terrible. But you can,
I haven't had that was terrible in
I haven't
a long
had
time,
that either.
to be fair.
I have. But and then you can all get on the train and like, you know, sometimes you'll hear the whole carriage singing or people just talking about the event and sort of like exchanging experiences. So I think, yeah, it serves as like a really good way of bringing people together collectively.
So on top of all of this, as if that wasn't already enough to fill like 24 hours and 7 days a week, but you also mentor young people. How do you think your own experience has helped with that? And also, what do you think is the most important, thing we can do to empower young people, or most important way to empower young people?
From when I was young, like when I was in college, I was about 18. And so I was studying, in college I studied psychology and sociology and English. And at uni I studied criminology with social psychology. So I was always interested in like the mind and how humans behave and why we do things. And I remember like not being completely sure what I wanted to do when I was older, but I kind of thought it was going to be in the youth work sector. But I always remember saying that I really want to work with young people because I didn't have anyone who was really looking out for me or really contributing to me making better decisions when I was younger. So now for me it's important to kind of just give back in a way where I could just be honest and say, look, this is the road that you don't want to go down, or these are decisions that you're making that will impact your future. What are the other options? Or I guess for me, being more, I think like it's a weird one because like I think people will still perceive me as like a masculine man or a man's man or whatever, but I embrace my emotional side, I embrace my sensitive side, and I don't hide it. So I think when I'm working with young men, for example, like who maybe are used to like closing off their emotions or used to like guys who want to tell war stories and like have a bit of bravado, and I'm kind of like just being a bit softer and kind of just being like, how do you feel today? Like, what is the emotion? Or, you know, if you could describe the emotion in a color, what would it be? And just kind of like having really deeper conversations. I think it helps people to just step out of the role that they think they have to play and just be themselves. And I think because I've gone through those situations where I had a decision to make whether I was going to carry on playing the role or actually step back and just kind of reevaluate my life, because I've been through that, I can ask certain questions or share certain experiences and connect in that way. So yeah, but ultimately people have to make their own decisions at the end of the day. But I think just being there and being an example of someone who has made decisions that have led to particular outcomes, but then have made other decisions to get to the place I'm at today. I think just being present in that way is powerful.
Kind of having a relatable and inspiring role model.
Yeah.
To look up to.
Yeah. Yes, but do you know what it is? Role model always feels quite like
too much pressure. Not
really. I think what happens. I think we forget that like we're all just humans, innit?
Yeah.
So like I might make a decision tomorrow that just completely. I'm not going to consciously, but anything could happen, and like tomorrow people might say, "Oh well, he's not a role model because that's a decision he's made," right? So I think.
People are too aggressive on the internet, first of all.
Yeah, they're like, do you know what I mean? It's crazy. So I am careful about that because I'm just like, I think words mean things and people associate them to things. So I think it's more about like, you're just a well-rounded human, you make decisions, and actually what's going to get you further is trying to make the best decisions that you can. And
understanding that people can make mistakes, but then
there's consequences that come with that, right? So if role model accounts for like the full human being experience and like just being normal, and you know, I guess like Soul Surge, I'm very like, my voice is calm, the way I present radio is calm, but when I have road rage, I have road rage. Do you know what I mean? And it's like so it's like, and I don't want to ever hide any parts of me, like I'm just normal. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
So I try not to hide like who I am, because I would hate for like anyone to like be surprised by like me beeping.
But he's got such a smooth
why? How is he beeping? It's like we all have like different elements to us, and people, places, situations bring out different elements of us. So I think
even that's inspiring, being able to admit that.
I
think. But I get you.
Yeah.
They always say don't meet your heroes, don't they?
Yeah, they
then
do.
you see them as flawed
I've met
human
some
beings.
That I just would not. But I guess I think that's the truth of it. We're all flawed human beings. But I think the difference is there are people who embrace that, and then there are some who kind of like don't. And that's where people not get caught out, but that's where the internet just gets crazy. And
it's mean to you on Twitter.
Yeah.
And maybe people are scared now to show that side of themselves because people are so quick to judge.
That is true. Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, but it's kind of like, and it's partially why I'm like so open with like my experience, because it's there, it's on record. At the end of the day, if I was to hide it, someone's gonna kind of be like, oh, but this is what you did, or this is, you know, you've been here or there, or so I think sometimes it's like if you share your truth as much as you can and who you are as much as you can, people just have to accept it or not. But there's no sort of like, this is a secret that you've got and I'm gonna out it. Like it's all on the table kind of thing. So
So what are your next steps and upcoming plans for Soul Surge and for Grounded Sounds?
So for Grounded Sounds, we just kind of went through a whole restructure and reprogramming. So I think it's just doing some new programs for the first time, or doing programs in their new form for the first time this year. So really zoning into that, and like partnerships. That's like a really big thing for me this year, is collaborating with different organizations and people who are really wanting to give back. So that is what's next for Grounded Sounds, just to keep growing and developing within my role, growing the impact that we're making. For Soul Surge, I think it's more events, more exploration of what it means to be a music and wellbeing organization. So we were very heavy on like the music side of things and like artists, but now really want to focus on like audience experience and like building a community and actually making sure people are getting the wellbeing element from us. So whether that's workshops and different types of workshops that we want to do, that's in the pipeline. Different types of events, that's in the pipeline. Radio is always going to be there and developing. So just kind of spreading our wings and also looking at what can be done outside of London, outside of the UK. That's the plan.
An international Soul Surge community.
Yep, that's the plan, because it's there.
Yeah.
But I think we just need to tap in.
Where's the second biggest country where they listen?
It varies, you know, but the US is
okay.
Loads of different cities in the US are listening. South Africa is big as well, and France. And there's a whole there's a whole list. Those are sort of like the hotspots.
So finally, we always end the podcast on two questions. So the first is, when did you last feel lonely?
I will say that, I don't know, but I will say the last time I felt lonely, I guess, let's say within a soul search context, was when I was running it by myself and like doing everything alone, which is very hard and very lonely. And I know there's like people out there and entrepreneurs out there who do everything by themselves. But I guess that was a while back, where now I have like people that are involved and do things with us, and we're slowly building a team. So I think that is the last time I can recall being actually lonely. Yeah.
No, I think that's that. Yeah, even being a CEO as well, because you're so lonely at the top. You're the only one there.
Yeah, it's tricky.
Yeah,
it is. But yeah, I would say that's like probably the last time, and that was a while back.
And what advice would you give to help someone feel more connected?
I think it's easy for me to say, but I know it's hard for people to do. So I would say to just like to connect, to literally like reach out, to contact who you need to contact, or show someone that you need them to contact you or whatever. Like, but I think trying to connect is probably the best way to connect. And like I said, that looks different for different people, and it's difficult for a lot of people. But I would say, yeah, trying to put yourself out there and like just communicate with people, whether it be you admire someone's work and you want to get closer to the work, sending a compliment or saying something, or telling someone how you feel, a friend or family, or even some strangers are actually open to that. So like, yeah, I would say connect, like reach out, because yeah, the worst someone can do is like ignore you or not want to connect, and I don't think that's the majority of people out there. Hopefully that's
I don't think it is. I think you're right. You know, like, I think people in the UK more than other countries are scared to connect with people. Like, if you go, I mean, I lived in Martinique for 7 months, and you walk down the street and you smile at everyone and you say bonjour, and like there's a real sense of community even just in the supermarket. And I came back to the UK and it's like we're quite scared. Yeah. But actually sometimes if you smile at someone and make eye contact with them, they're going to smile back.
Yeah. Literally. Yeah. It's just trying, you know. Yeah.
And maybe go to places where you can connect with people.
Yeah. I used to go to like shows by myself. Just, well, one, because I really liked the show and like maybe I didn't have anyone else around that wanted to go. But yeah, just go by myself and like I'll talk to the person next to me. Have you seen them before? And you just have a conversation and connect. So yeah, maybe try going to a solo event, which is daunting. Yeah.
No, it's good, but then once you've done it, you realise it's not as scary. And also, if you like the music, it's actually really fun listening to the music.
But I think a lot of people, for a lot of people, the first step is actually the most daunting, which is like even the idea of like going by yourself, or the idea of like sending a DM or a message or anything,
or telling someone that you're feeling a bit lonely.
Yeah, sometimes the actual idea is harder than the actual acts sometimes. So
well, thank you so much for giving a bit of your time.
No
a very very busy time.
Oh, it's cool. I've got time for you anyway.
Thank you.
You know that.
And then, I mean, I'm going to put this all in the show notes, but if people want to find Soul Surge and find out more about Grounded Sounds, I'll put the website in the show notes. Cool. And Soul Search has a Spotify playlist as well.
We have playlists.
SoundCloud and okay, cool.
SoundCloud, Spotify as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Cool. Thank you.